Hey, Randy.
Hello.
How's it going? We've got people joining us in the Zoom. This is
This
the
is
world we're in now.
exciting.
It is exciting. I can't believe we're not in the same room together, but I love that we can represent so many coasts. If
I
you
know
can,
we can be all over the world on Zoom. I love it.
that's right. That's if you consider Lake Michigan a coast, and I do.
It is a coast of sorts.
That's right. That's right. Hey, we've got beaches.
Amen.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here from Los Angeles. We've got a couple of other guests of honor, Randall and Michael. If you guys could join me as well. Thank you so much. We're going to get started, everyone, with introductions. We're so happy to have you all here on behalf of the American Diabetes Association, the Focus on Diabetes Initiative, and our visionary partners, VSP Vision Care and Regeneron. We are thrilled to have you all here. Welcome. It is Men's Health Month, and so it is no coincidence that I'm here with a few super fly guys to talk about their health, your health, eye health, and all things health, diabetes, and eye health related. Thank you so much for being here. I want to kick it over to Randy just for an intro, the man who likely needs no introduction, but we're thrilled to have you here with us, Randy. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I love that it's Men's Health Month. I love that that is upon us now. And I just want to urge everyone to really go and get your eyes checked. Listen, men, we're the worst at going to doctors ever. I mean, any kind of doctor, because you never want to hear what's wrong, what's going on. So, living with type 2 diabetes now for 20 years, I mean, trust me, you got to go and know what's going on. You just have to know. There's no other way. You can live a great life with it, but you have to manage it. Managing it is key and number one, and eye health is the place to be.
Yes.
Couldn't agree more, Randy. And what a great message. I think managing is such an incredible phrase, right? You're no stranger to management of all sorts of things, not the least your incredible industry and all the powerhouse moves that you've made. And really, as we've discussed earlier, diabetes is such a disease that is another job. And it requires 24/7 attention, and it requires a commitment to doing the best things for you. And I love that you're urging the message of keeping in touch with your medical team. And that includes not only your doctor managing your diabetes or your primary care or any other specialists you have, but really getting your annual eye exam. I'm
Friends and
big,
family. That support team is crucial. Friends and family.
for sure it
No
is.
cure for this disease, but you can manage it. No cure, though. No cure.
That's absolutely right. And until there is a cure, however you may define it, some of the things that the American Diabetes Association and especially the Focus on Diabetes Initiative are doing are providing resources and programming that are going to help you out every single day, just like this event today. So we're so glad to have you here, Randy. I'd like to also welcome our special guests, our Focus on Diabetes ambassadors, Randall Barker and Michael Donahoe. Michael, if you can start us with an introduction to yourself, your journey, anything you care to share with our audience and with those of us who are listening today.
Sure. I'm Michael Donahoe. I live up in Western New York in the Finger Lakes. I have type 2 diabetes. I've had it. Will celebrate 25 years in August. And I do hold that term celebrate because I have been up and down with the care of my diabetes. Back in 2014, I started having some health problems while working in advertising in New York City. Ended up being that I had a heart valve go away, but that was okay because once they went in and got that heart valve, they found a triple bypass and coronary artery disease, which was caused by the diabetes. And if I had not gone in for that surgery, I would not be here today. Now, the funny part is what brought me back to my diabetes was a diagnosis of diabetic retinopathy in December of 2014. So I'm with you about the 6 years as well. And, the point of management, that's where I'm going to go quick here, is that, I've been to my podiatrist last Thursday. I was at my cardiologist yesterday, my PCP today, and tomorrow I get to go see my ophthalmologist and may get an injection, may not. But it's all about management and taking care of it. And I think the point that was really made, the healthcare team. The healthcare team does include friends, families. And, for me, I always tease my PCP that he's my head coach of my football team. So I'm just the quarterback. I got to run the plays, but, it helps.
I love that. That's such a great analogy, Michael. And thanks for, really bringing it together with how many members of that team there are. And I
Mhm.
want to put a pin in something that you mentioned about going to see your ophthalmologist tomorrow and possibly getting an injection, because I think that we talk about these things very casually for those of us who have experienced it. And it might be something that is terribly unnerving for others who have not yet experienced it. And Randy, when you brought up earlier that men in particular, with all due respect, are a little bit more hesitant to hear the things that are wrong or to start the plan or to start the treatment plan, I'd love for Michael and for Randall and for Randy for us to really open the dialogue about what happens in these appointments and why
Mhm.
you should really get ahead of it. But before that, I'd like to also introduce Randall Barker, another one of our ambassadors, who is showing us up in your threads today, Randall.
Well,
Welcome, and thank you for being here. Please share a little bit about yourself with us.
yeah, thank you. So my name's Randall Barker, and I live in Wichita Falls, Texas. So North Central Texas, where it's really hot right now. So y'all don't envy Texas right now. But I am a type 1 diabetic. Actually, I just, like Michael, celebrated my 30th anniversary last month. My daughter is also a type 1 diabetic. She's going on 8 years coming up next month. So we're our strongest support system when we talk about a support system and stuff like that. We generally get the feelings and emotions and roller coasters that go with diabetes. Also, in terms of anniversaries and everything, I'm coming off 1 year having my, I guess, most recent operation due to diabetic retinopathy. So I kind of had an experience of dealing with it through COVID times, which was a little scary, but we can circle back around to that and discuss more. But yeah, I just echo the other two gentlemen's thoughts, Randy and Michael's, of diabetes is something that if you get that support system and you stay ahead of it, it's great to, these complications can be overcome and can be tackled head on. And I think that's important. And I applaud being able to do events like this where we can kind of tell that to people and share our stories.
Great. I love that. And I really love, Randall, that you brought up facing retinopathy in particular during COVID, because I think we can all agree that as bizarre as many of our years as individuals may have ever been, this past year for all of us has just been a collective twilight zone. and kudos to all of you for making your way through it. My dog looks at me every day like, oh, you again? But I'm so thrilled to have you all here with us in the places that we are. We do have a quick poll for those of you who are joining us in the audience. Randall brought up facing retinopathy and facing some health challenges, particularly in a time where nobody was certain where they could go or if they would be allowed in or how many masks to wear. So Sarah, if you wouldn't mind launching the poll for us, we'd like to hear from our audience and participants on just a couple of questions. Did you receive a comprehensive eye exam during 2021 or 2020? Let's say that.
Mhm.
And if you did not receive that comprehensive eye exam during COVID 2020 and 2021, was this a result of COVID? And we want to hear from our audience here, but I can start very candidly. I did not receive a comprehensive eye exam during 2020 or 2021, and it was as a result of COVID. So shout out to Dr. Gill. I'm sorry about that. You could see me soon. Randall, I think you're going to share a little bit about your story. Michael, how did COVID impact how you've addressed your health?
It's funny with my own health. It's like I'm in a house with 5 kids and my wife, and my mother moved up here. She's type 2 as well. And for me, surprisingly, I think I was in such a rhythm when it came to appointments. I did not miss one appointment. And I remember I'm hoping to be at the end of this series of injections, but when we had to go back into the series, it was strange because you were hustled into what used to be a very bustling waiting room where there's one person maybe standing in a corner, and you get moved into a room, and optometrists were doing the jobs of admins. It was kind of crazy, and I'm saying it more from the eye point of view, because anybody who could do telehealth did telehealth.
Mhm.
But obviously, when you're trying to do, there are certain parts of diabetes self-management which are not really possible from home, at least this point with the technology. And the eyes are one of them. And since we are looking at the risk of blindness, if we do not manage this, that's a good motivator to get you out, even if you have the fear of stinking COVID, But
Right.
that's the thing. You're going to go, you're going to take that time, you're going to take that risk, but it was worth it. And I mean, I even wrapped around with my optometrist who recommended me to the specialist, and she laughs because she says, I get all your reports, I know everything about you, you're fine. And then we just adjust, get new glasses. So yeah, I think that's really important coming out of COVID, since it's been proven that so many people did not go to their they canceled so many appointments. I know my ophthalmologist said she's playing catch up with patients, and there
Wow.
are patients who have had reducing sight. So if I can encourage anybody, it doesn't matter which health area, get to your doctors, get to your specialists. Do not mess around.
That's a great message. And Randy, we want to hear your story with diabetes and your eye health, and just a little bit more about you. But Randall, can you just piggyback onto what Michael said about experiencing appointments during COVID time, particularly to Michael's point, when there is something that requires so much hands-on and a direct look? You can't diagnose, a broken finger on Zoom in the same way that you might be able to do other things.
Right. So I guess my appointment was really because I had issues with my eye and was having the vision problems, and having previous surgeries. I kind of knew going in, I was like, uh-oh, this is something that's going to require an office visit, where you can't definitely do telemedicine for that one. And so made an appointment, and surprisingly was able to get in very quickly because so many appointments were being canceled due to COVID. But yeah, I was able to get in and went through the procedure of, or I guess went through the process of evaluation of what the damage was to the eye. And I was concerned a little bit at that time that's actually like surgeries were being canceled for non-medical necessary procedures. And this was one I was really worried. I was like, how long am I going to have to wait for this surgery? And my doctor assured me, he's like, no, this is medically necessary for your vision and stuff. And the next week I was having eye surgery at a very, very quiet and isolated surgery center, because a lot of surgeries were canceled. But thankfully, I was able to get surgery outpatient done, and yeah, was on the road to healing in no time.
Excellent. So glad to hear that. And thank you for sharing that with us, Randall, and your story as well. And speaking of sharing stories, I want to pop over to Randy. Randy, on the heels of these two gentlemen sharing their incredible commitment to their health and some of the concerns about the ups and downs, we would love for you to tell us a little bit more about your journey with diabetes, with managing your vision care, and any comments before we start taking some questions from our audience.
Well, I was diagnosed 20 years ago. Wound up in the emergency room. My blood sugar was over 500. Didn't know what was wrong. Didn't know what was going on. Thought I had a cold. Couldn't quench my thirst. I don't know. I just feeling terrible for a while. And my doctor comes out and says, I have good news and bad news. Good news is you have a incurable disease, but if you really work on it, and this is now your most important job, you can manage it. Bad news is that you have an incurable disease, you have type 2 diabetes, and your lifestyle, everything you've been doing up to this point has led you to that. Yeah, a little bit hereditary, but it's, us abusing our bodies and not doing what we know we need to do. You need to lose weight, you need to eat better, you need to exercise, but God, I tell you something, the things if you could only do them in life, we'd all be much further ahead. But those things seem to be the hardest things in the world to do. And it's one of those things you can tell someone else what to do, but doing it yourself is tough. But look, through a lot of trial and error, I finally got it together, got on the better side. And my vision started getting worse over the years. So I would go twice a year and see my eye doctor. I got a couple infections over time that needed some treatment. And I just, made me pay really close attention because, I'm in line here for some cataract surgery because I see them coming on. I was just in for a checkup and he says, well, when are we doing that? So, all diabetes related. So, I mean, it's serious stuff. It's just serious stuff.
Yeah, there are certainly, I feel like threats is a really, really powerful word, but there are very strong influences in so many parts of our lives as a result of the management of our diabetes. And, the four of us can agree here on that, right? Because we manage it every day. Randy, you bring up such a great point about how if the best things were easy, we wouldn't be here, right?
No. Oh.
And so I love that you mentioned the ways in which we should really be caring for ourselves and monitoring the things that we're doing, and paying a little bit of closer attention to our daily activity, and what we are drinking and what we are eating, and how we are presenting ourselves and honoring ourselves, quite honestly. And we just had some poll results. I had them pop up on here. Unfortunately, I didn't take note of them before thank you. And it looks like of our audience members, the number of people that had their comprehensive eye exam during 2021 was 63%. That's 25 members here. And of the folks who did not receive a comprehensive eye exam during the past year, was this a result of COVID? And a majority of those folks said that no, it was not a result of COVID. So it looks like we've got a little bit of work to do. And I think we can all agree that change is really hard, and making that appointment, keeping that appointment, those are the things that can be so difficult for all of us to manage, especially with the craziness of everyday life. Randy, we've all seen you on screens of all sizes, and we've been super excited to follow your journey and the dreams that you've been able to make come true for so many people. Can you talk to us a little bit about your busy life and how it's been impacted by your diabetes diagnosis, either before or after?
Well, I mean, I've always led a very busy life. Be that good or bad, it's just who I am and what has happened to me, and thank God for the blessings. But, I think for me, I had to reprioritize things. And that's the thing I want to make sure that people realize. You have to put this first. Health is the ultimate wealth. So when you have an issue and a disease like this, I had to reprioritize things. I had to make sure I thought about, what am I eating for breakfast? Let me check my blood sugar. Let me make sure, let me never miss an appointment, because it could be a serious thing. I mean, look, in new cases of blindness, diabetes is a leading cause. So we have to make sure our eye health is always in check. So, I had to really, really change my life. I say to people, I had a divorce from my old life. I started a new life where my health came first, because in my old life, my health was like 25th. So I had to, change things around a bit. You know what I mean?
That's great. I love that you talk about it as a reprioritization, and say what you will about divorce from an old life or divorce in general. There is always something that comes with, starting a new path and being able to chart a different course in a way that you've recommitted to yourself. And Michael and Randall, it sounds like you guys both agreed wholeheartedly with having to make some changes. We'd love to hear from you on any changes that you've made or what sort of influence or impact change to your health has had in your life.
I think that it's hard to say because even like it's funny, Randy mentioned the word divorce. I went through a divorce and I kind of gave up diabetes. And because I gave up diabetes, I have the challenges. I have CKD and a list as well as DPN with the feet. The point there is the one thing I missed was the simplest thing. Because when I go into my ophthalmologist, I said, what should I have done different? And she said, control your blood sugar. And if you ask every doctor who sits there and says, okay, I'm specializing in your kidney disease, I'm specializing in your cardiovascular disease, they all say the same thing. You have diabetes, you need to take the steps to prevent. And it's even I was at an optometrist when my eyes were discovered to have the retinopathy. And that's the thing, if I had been going to regular appointments, and even the answers, it's funny, I'm a digital producer by background. I was in med ad. And the thing is, what made me aware of this issue was I was sitting at a computer and I could not see. I was having video files and audio files coming through. I could not read the detail. Even the chat that we have here, I had to put up onto my big screen. So yeah, it would have been that simple. So I went through a divorce, then took on a really shady life there for a while. And then I had to really come back to that point, and exactly as Randy said, okay, I'm having heart surgery and all this craziness. I better make changes. So I backslide some, but I had my A1C this week. I actually went on a CGM yesterday after 4 years of fighting for one.
Awesome.
And now you're T2, you don't get a CGM that easily.
No.
So, and got it working on the first shot. So the thing is, I really encourage prevention. You have the ability to control this and handle this if you look at this. And I think everybody should also get an A1C at least once a year if you do not have diabetes, because it is the one thing that a lot of doctors will not do, but is it just as important as a CBC or lipids or cholesterols or anything else? So that's some of the things. So I would say, yeah, it's, this has been life-changing the last 6 years. And one of the things as I am here today, and I'm sure Randall's the same way, is that if we don't speak up, and in the T2 community, it's 90% of the people with diabetes have T2, but probably we're less than 10% of the actual voice of saying something. And it is so important for everybody in the diabetes community to use their voice in order to help others not go through what we have.
I love that message. Randall, would you like to comment? Thanks.
Sure, yeah. So I think I was one of where a strong case of where I kind of ignored my diabetes for a long time. They say it's an invisible disease that not a lot of people see. And I definitely took that to heart and probably didn't have the best A1C for the longest time. But this was one, I would still go to my eye appointments more or less because I would wear contacts. So we would do, the yearly appointments, and mentioning to my ophthalmologist that I was a diabetic, we would keep an eye on my eyes, really. And we would do the dilated exams, and we would notice these hemorrhages. And luckily the hemorrhages, they would kind of stay there. And unfortunately, it was like, as the doctor put it, a ticking time bomb. And we watched those hemorrhages for about 15 years till they finally, it was about 3 years ago that when I had my first hemorrhage rupture that resulted in having to have surgery. But kind of bouncing back on maybe what really got me into taking care of my diabetes, it wasn't really the complications, but it was my daughter being diagnosed and myself being a support system for her. So I think that if people can really get their support system in hand, whether it be online, whether it be friends, family, or whatever, that is gives strong encouragement for people to take care of their diabetes.
That's great. Thank you, Randall. And I think these messages just keep coming back to a similar place of support and of community and of connection. And for those of you who are joining us today, or those of you who are watching the video, we encourage you, if you're on Facebook, to join our iHealth Facebook group. And that's a group of people who are experiencing things just like all of us, whether it's the threat of a complication of an eye disease, or living with diabetes and being concerned about it. And this really echoes, Michael, a lot of what you've said about prevention and how critical prevention is to so many long-term complications and even the short-term ones. Not only is it prevention of diabetes by managing your lifestyle in a healthy way, whether it's after a diagnosis of prediabetes or taking a look at your genetics, or how many drive-throughs we've got, how many vegetables you're eating in a day. There was a point in my life we could probably count it on one hand. I can admit that. And then also preventing the complications, because one thing is just one thing. And I realize that sounds a little bit silly, but in the same way that we all test our blood sugars on a pretty regular basis, whether it's with the CGM or following a trend or with a finger stick and a meter, that's just one number. It's one data point. And then you make a decision and you move on from there. And those of us living with chronic diseases like diabetes, where it's a part of you every single step that you take, it can be difficult to look at one point and be able to just take the next step on that and not beat yourself up over it. So with regard to eye disease and other complications, even at the point of a diagnosis, there are so many treatments available and there are so many options available to improve the quality of life that you have while facing eye disease or continued challenges with your vision. So I want to circle back a little bit to Michael when you mentioned around getting an injection in your eye. Randy and Randall, are you familiar with injections in your eye?
Oh, absolutely.
Don't know about this, no.
Okay. So I want to take a little bit of a pulse check. This is a
Sounds
perfect
really
audience.
interesting, but no. Yes.
Randy Jackson, if someone says, I might have to get an injection in my eye tomorrow, how do you feel about that?
I don't feel great, but.
Okay. All right. I think most of us are with you. Randall Barker, if someone says it to you, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely sounds scary, but having experienced them, it's, not as bad as, and it's not as bad as it sounds, definitely.
For sure. And Michael, since you brought it up, can you tell us a little bit about why maybe it's not as bad as it sounds?
Well, I'll do two quick things. First thing for Randy, it's kind of like an E string on a guitar going into your eye. So that's the best way, and the first string, not the sixth string. So it's kind of the first experience I ever had with it was 6 weeks after open heart surgery, and the doctor says I have to put a shot in your eye. I broke down and cried. I was 47 at the time. I'm like, just didn't know what to do. And she said, and I was consoled very carefully and just said, hey, here's how it's going to go. Now, the thing I will say is exactly what Randall said. It's more scary the first time you deal with it. It's also more scary. It has a scarier type of feel initially because you don't know how to treat it. And I think this is an important thing to say. I was first using an off-label drug they were using at that time. My doctor preferred to use that one. And now I'm on a later version of a brand drug. And the thing is that I learned, I used to have something different. I would have to get my shots. And then at 6 o'clock, get them around 8. And then at 6 o'clock at night, hop in my car, head back to New Jersey by midnight so I could be back in the agency in Manhattan the next day. So I had to figure out a way, how do you get this thing to not be a mess and a pain and things like that? Number 1 was to de-stress. Number 2 was to lay down. Number 3 was some ice and some Tylenol. I can't use ibuprofen, unfortunately. And it's a process. And once everything in diabetes is like a spinning plate. You have to sit there and say, how much spin does it need? How much attention and things like that. But the thing is, and I think we all know this, you have to watch your weight. You have to watch what you eat. You have to watch the other conditions. It's constant. And the nice part about the CGM, I said to my doctor today, was I wanted one for so long because I've been dealing with hypos and very highs. The thing is, how am I going to lose weight if I'm having a fear of going into a hypo? So yeah, that first time was bad. I think the hardest part for me, and I think Randall can accept this, is like when they put the ring in. It's even worse than the first shot, the numbing and the drops and everything else, because they do a numbing shot. But when they put the ring in that first time, you're like, what? They put a ring in, it keeps your eye wide open so the doctor can give a shot. The second thing is I prefer shots in the sides, and the doctor has to go where it is, and more than one time has had to come straight in. That's the one where your brain is like, wow, what's going on? But yeah, it's an experience. But as you know, we like to say, would I rather have no shots or would I rather be blind? Make a choice. And I have that control. That's the thing.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I think the phrase is not all heroes wear capes, but you're definitely among them. And especially for sharing your story, particularly here in Men's Health Month on this incredible call with these gentlemen who are as committed to their health as you are. We love to hear it, and thank you. I want to encourage everybody who is in our audience and all of our participants to submit your questions for Randy Jackson, for Randall, and for Michael. Put them in the Q&A. I think the chat itself is disabled, if I've learned anything about Zoom in a year. But the Q&A is available, and we've got some folks who are going to be taking a look through those. And we're going to get started with a couple of questions that we've heard from folks all along in preparation for this. We've been gearing up for this one, so we're psyched to have you here. And let's get started, if you don't mind. We ready?
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. All right, so for Michael and Randall, how do you start a conversation with friends and family about your diabetes and eye health? And I love that this question came in because we started talking about the hesitation, particularly of fine gentlemen like you, to avoid such gnarly topics, right? And for people with diabetes, it can be something that we handle all the time, and maybe we don't want to talk about it because we live it every day. So Michael, Randall, and then Randy, we invite you to fill in after. How do you start those conversations?
I think first thing is being authentic and honest. I almost say no BS as well, because the thing is, we're not direct and straight, and we have to dance around this issue. That's a challenge. I know sometimes with the feeding in this house, because like I said, I have a bunch of teens, it's, there's enough carbs to drive you nuts, but it's my situation. And I think the thing is that's funny is, people always say with diabetes, oh, you're worried about early passing. But it seemed to be a bigger challenge in this house if I went blind and having to lead me around, quote unquote. And I said, well, okay, well, here's what we have to do. So yeah, it has to be, I think, making the commitments. And like I said, a lot of it has been perseverance, endurance, sometimes with family members, sometimes with doctors, sometimes with the insurance company. It just depends. So, but straight and honest, authentic.
Thank you. Randall.
I think for first more is just kind of tackling it head on, bringing the topic out, and just answering any questions that people may have about it. A lot of them, when they say, oh, you're diabetic, my grandmother had that and she passed away. I think the big part is to not really dwell on the negative of it, but more of the positive. And for me, I've done a lot of talking kind of locally, and I've even gone to DC before, but I kind of relate back to my daughter having diabetes. And with her, for the longest time, having it over 30 years, I looked at it as, oh, this is my curse. This is, the invisible condition. But yet, when my daughter had it, I kind of switched my perspective. I'm like, well, now my curse is my blessing, because that brought us closer, kind of brought our bond together. And I just used that as a message to tell others, and just to, answer any questions and stigma that might be surrounded. And that's, for me, that's how I tackle it head on and stuff like that, which really helps me myself, but also kind of raise awareness and just helps people's understanding of the condition more.
Mhm.
Great, thanks, Randy.
And I just want to throw in, there's a psychology called behavioral psychology,
Mhm.
which means basically that I have to change the way I look at it in order to affect it. And, to me, my diagnosis, talking to my family about it, was really just straight and honest, as Michael and Randall have said. And also, life is about choices. So to me, I looked at diabetes like a choice. I've been eating bad, I've been exercising bad, I've been abusing my life, and this is me personally. We're not all made the same. Somebody could be rail thin, eat like a racehorse, whatever they want, never have any problems. That's not the hand that I was dealt. So each choice that we make comes a set of coordinates and conditions.
For sure.
So what it did for me is made me finally focus on what I should have been focused on. So I go, okay, hell with this. Now I have to focus or it's over. So,
Mhm.
I'm left with no choice. So I want that for my family. I want my friends, I want my whole team to know what's going on with me. And I applaud both of the gentlemen and you, Aaron, all of us on this webinar today, to put the word out there and talk about it. Salute the ADA and the website. We can find out all the info, but to talk about it and pay it forward so that people that possibly are going to live with this or living with this or about to, there is help. There are people to talk to. There's information. There's things you can glean from us on this that you don't have to go through yourself.
Mhm.
You got friends here, in other words.
Absolutely. And Randy, you keep bringing up this message about sharing and certainly about prevention. I know that you've mentioned that a couple of times super strongly. We've got a question that came in from Tatiana saying that we've talked about injections and surgeries. How can those living with diabetes prevent it getting to that point? And Randy, I would love for you to double down on your prevention message about what folks can do and words from you.
I had to have a food divorce, and I seriously mean that. I was off the scales. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just eating like a racehorse. My diet, my thing was so bad, it helped to bring on my type 2 diabetes even faster. So I had to get my food intake together. We talk about A1C numbers, we talk about the numbers. The numbers are direct correlation to what you eat. So if I'm going to have that, I need to know. You could put the CGM in, you could have 10 of them in. But if I eat this, I know what's going to happen. So I have to change what I do. There's no way around it. I just, I stress that to everyone because that's what I had to do. It starts with your diet. Isn't that so simple?
Seems that way.
It's back to basics. Starts with your diet and your exercise routine. And the exercise routine, if you eat terribly, you could like run a marathon and still not burn off that days of calories and bad food. So yeah, it just has to be a balance. Starts with the food.
It does. And it is amazing. I think that a lot of folks fall into a bit of a trap of justifying the eating with some amount of exercise. I know in my personal life, I've heard that from a lot of people like, oh, I took that long walk. Sure, we can do burgers and all this stuff for dinner. And I think, as everyone says, everything in moderation. And it's super important to live your best life and to be able to thrive, whether it's prior to your diagnosis or after your diagnosis, and make the decisions that are best for you. I also, thank you. I also want to, it's almost as if I've said that before.
I love it.
I also want to talk a little bit about the importance of a comprehensive annual eye exam. And Randy, I'm so impressed that you said that you were getting your eyes examined twice a year. We know that you're bringing up the average for the whole country on how many eye exams we're getting collectively. Tell me more about that.
Well, listen, I mean, years ago, I mean, I've been wearing glasses since I was in ninth grade. So, every time I need to get a checkup, I also started a lovely eyewear line. So I should be the main guy. If I'm the poster guy and I'm doing this, I need to get checked up. And also, the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, I wanted to make sure where the cataract thing was.
Mhm.
So as I said, I was just in and I'm due to get that done. But I mean, you have to watch these things because you have serious diseases. There's glaucoma. There's all of these serious diseases, which I'm sure Michael and Randall know very well about. And you, Aaron, that I want to head things off at the path now.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I'm supposed to go and get a physical exam every year. I don't want to be the typical man and go every 4 years when I think something's really wrong. You know what I mean? I need to now be proactive. Got to be proactive.
Great. I love that. And I'm glad that this is recorded so that I can play it for some of the men in my life who might need a reminder of those.
Yes, men. Come on, men. Let's not shame ourselves.
Right.
Right.
Thank you for that. And now all of you have talked about which eye doctors you're seeing and who you're seeing. I know that we've heard about ophthalmologists, we've heard about retina specialists. I'm going to start with Randall. Can you tell us a little bit about who's on your eye health and diabetes care team? Do your eye doctors help to manage your diabetes? Do they see what's going on back there? Tell us about the team.
Well, luckily, so I guess the first thing, I have a pretty large team, and they're all connected. They all, converse with one another so that if there's a report or something over here, it's passed back to. I guess it starts with my primary care doctor, from there to my endocrinologist, and they're the ones. Hey, just a reminder: are you getting your eye checkup? And I have the ophthalmologist, which just does a basic eye exam, but then the ophthalmologist / retina expert, that they're the ones that they specialize on the diabetic retinopathy. And they're also the surgeons that have done surgeries in the past. So I have that little team, that little square right there, and they all communicate together. So that's my small team. And, so far there's other members as well. Like I'm at the age now where I'm actually starting to do like a cardiologist and some of the others as well. So that's my team.
Great. Sounds like your bench gets a little bit deeper with age.
Yes.
That's all right.
Yeah.
They're all on your side, man. They're all on your side.
Exactly.
Michael, how about you and your team?
I think that Randall did a great job in expressing it. As I said before with the football team analogy, try to keep my PCP as the primary contact. Most of my doctors are within the same network, except for my specialist ophthalmologist and my optometrist and my podiatrist. So, but each one it is true. Those who are not, they are making sure that the communications are either going, for example, the podiatrist had to send a message to the cardiologist and then copied it back to the PCP. That's been in the last 3 days. And there's good reason for it. But yeah, it's the same type thing is even my optometrist at this point, where she's technically the lead for my eyes, she really is not the lead for my eyes. The specialist is. But when I do go for glasses, when I do go for the standard annual appointment, I go to her. And it's nice because I was sharing even this opportunity of working with the ADA, and it gets them excited, and also working with other organizations that I'm working with. And I think that's important because so many people in the healthcare professional area do not see that many of us walking through and saying, hey, I get it. I'm trying to make the changes I'm trying to do. More of them are having the problems of seeing somebody coming in and having exactly what Randy said, which was, it's about the simple things of eating and walking and doing what the doctor says and sleeping and holding your stress down. You work in those basic 5 things, then it starts to come together. But unfortunately, most people don't do that. And you do see healthcare professionals get pretty struck on that. So, yeah, I mean, my healthcare team, it's bigger than I want it to be, and I would like to reduce it, but they're all great people. They deal with
I have
me.
no doubt. I have no doubt. And I think one of the bonuses of us is that we hit our deductible super early in the year. So we'll check on that, right?
Yeah.
And that said, navigating eye health can be a little bit challenging because it's not, a standard with your medical insurance. And there are some really fantastic resources available at eyehealth.diabetes.org and through our partners Regeneron and VSP Vision Care that can help you navigate those questions. Of course, you can always call the American Diabetes Association Center for Information, and that's 1-800-DIABETES, cleverly enough. And they'll be able to point in the direction of those too. Randy, can you tell us a little bit about your team, your eye care team, and how do you manage? Do you just go sit in a waiting room like with regular folks? And how many samurai swords have you had to sign in there?
Believe it or not, Aaron, I'm a regular guy. Believe it
Oh!
or not, dude, listen, me and Michael and Randall all share similar DNA. No,
I know
listen,
that's right.
no, I have a pretty extensive team too. I've had some back surgery, so I got that whole side of things with, neurologists and all of that stuff. But I have a specialist and an ophthalmologist that they all talk amongst each other. They all drive to each other. They say, listen, when have you had your checkup with your eye doctor? Because they're all looking at the same things but I've employed them all to say, look, anything you see, anything you think we should take a deeper look at, let me know. Say it, don't be afraid, just be bold, call me out on it.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do, I need to get it together and keep it together.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
I mean, I've thrown that down when I first started on this journey because I said, look, I'm going to fight like hell to get this together.
Good for you. It's clear that you have. Thank you.
Yes, I must say, knock on some wood somewhere, I'm better for it right now.
That's great. So glad to hear that. And I know that we've all mentioned ophthalmologists and optometrists, and that can be confusing to navigate, especially for someone who's really just getting their hands around their eye health. And we just want to remind everyone that, your optometrist locally in a local pharmacy, sometimes your Target or Walmart type stores have them as well. Getting into any professional and just saying, hey, I want to do something about this, they're all there for you. And if it requires a specialist, if it requires another referral, any place is a great place to start. So I think that we can all agree that just getting it out there and taking a cue from Randy Jackson and saying, tell me what's up, man, because I want to do something about it.
Yes.
That's the best thing that you can do. You're your own best advocate.
Yeah, tell me what's going on. Don't keep me in the dark. I really want to know. I need to know. My life depends on me knowing.
Absolutely. That's a great message. Randy, I've got a quick question for you. Managing your health on the go and living in the fast-paced world that you do, and tell me if I'm overselling that, by the way, but I think you're a pretty busy guy.
No, I'm a very busy guy, and I have to think about it every day. So I think about what's my schedule like today? What am I doing? What am I going? What am I eating? What am I doing what? I've really adopted the water rule. I drink tons of water every day.
Awesome.
So I'm good there now. What am I working out? What's my, I really give a lot of thought to it every day and look for breaks and also look for, okay, what could be stressful? What couldn't be? Make sure you breathe, make sure you meditate a bit every day. I've really, man, I mean, it's taken me a long time, but I've finally gotten it to a good place now.
That's awesome. We're thrilled to hear that. Everybody.
It's taken me forever, though. It's taken me a lifetime, but I mean, better late than never, right?
That's right. There's not a switch to flip. So have you ever experienced any discrimination as a result of having diabetes in your industry, or anyone who may have looked at you differently or treated you differently for this? On the flip side, has anyone said, besides us, of course. We love what you're doing and the platform that you have, and we want you to shout your health and your choices and your lifestyle from the rooftops.
Well, I get the latter more than the other one. I mean, yes, people are saying, please pay it forward. I'm happy that you do.
Awesome.
Because I think, people look at celebrities and they think, oh, nothing's wrong with them. They got all the money, they got all this, they got all that. They could never be living in Hollywood and Beverly Hills. But listen, we're all just people. The same issues, we're dealing with them. I never got much negativity about it because, in the industry, everybody's got something. There's an artist I used to manage named Nika Costa that wrote a song, Everybody's Got This Something. And it's true. So, and in the entertainment business, I mean, literally people have a lot of self-imposed things.
Sure.
They have a lot of things that are, it's just riddled with that, because what we're really talking about is we're all still just really people. There's no difference in me and you. I have a disease that's incurable. You may not. You may be having the warning signs of that. Maybe something I will say to you can help to impart some wisdom your way, that you go, you know what? Maybe I should change that. Or maybe I should change my diet now. Maybe it won't be so bad, or, you know what I mean? So, but the food thing is a tough thing, and the gut health and all of that. I'm big on all of that. It's a really, really deep dive, because you don't see anything wrong with it. You know what I mean? I grew up in New Orleans. My God,
Excellent.
food is king, queen, and crown prince of the universe.
That's right.
The stuff couldn't be sweet enough. These carrots are not sweet enough. They don't have enough salt in them. What? I mean, it just is what it is. It's called good eating.
That's right. And I think in many people's lives, and certainly families, food is love. And understanding how do you manage that when somebody says, oh, I can't, how does that translate, right?
And the one thing we should mention on this is that along with the stress, food is emotional. Oh, whoa. Man, go get some therapy, go to your local therapist, go to anybody, anywhere. So, because it's emotional, eating's emotional, happy, sad, depressed, anxious, whatever the range of emotions are, we grab for satiation from food.
Right.
Without even thinking. So, whoa, that's a deep dive in trying to get that thing really underhand.
Definitely is. And many people don't understand the connection between emotional health and mental health and physical health.
Yes.
And the charge that it requires you emotionally and mentally to take control of your physical health. Randy,
Yeah.
can you talk to us a little bit about your understanding of that connection, or maybe a time that you've experienced that, or something, a success you can share?
Well, I start to understand it a little bit more when I had my, what I call the so-called food divorce. Because I just basically had to start over. I couldn't eat the way I was eating, live the way I was living, and control this incurable disease. And I keep mentioning incurable because it is. You can manage it. There's no cure yet. So, I just really had to get a grasp on what I was doing. I was eating terrible. I was emotionally eating. I had to find the things that were depressing me. What's going on in my life? Let me look at my life. How did I get here? What am I doing? Why do I keep just perpetuating this thing that's not helping me? It's just making me sicker. By the day I'm getting sicker, I'm feeling terrible. So I really had to just figure it out. And the only way that I could figure out how to figure it out is to have that divorce, push everything away and say, okay, let me start over. One by one, put it back. Okay, what's good? What's not good? What am I eating that makes me feel bad? What rises my blood sugar? I know the heavy starchy foods. I know sugars. I just have to get a grip on it and say, okay, that's not going to be good. That's not me anymore. I don't live there anymore.
That's incredible. I believe that your heart is still there, and it's where you want it to be, but sometimes it's about getting your body in the right place and getting and using your head to get you there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, listen, it's almost like what the doctor used to tell me when I was growing up, all of us, diet and exercise.
Yeah.
Whoa, what do you mean diet? You mean I can have 12 burgers and 18 donuts? No, you can't. Okay, so what should I be? So I had to re-educate myself on food.
Yeah.
Do I even know what I should be eating? Do I even know? I didn't even really know. I knew that lean meats and things were good, or, I've tried every diet known to man, vegan, vegetarian, I mean, keto. I mean, I've done, and listen, I don't know anybody's anything. What works for you may not work for me. There's no one size fits all. I
Right.
think you just got to find your thing in it. What's going to work for you? I had to find it. It took me a long time, but I must say, thank God I finally found it.
Well, Randy, we're also thankful that you found it, and particularly those of us on the side of advocating for patients, for people living with diabetes, for people who are facing complications like diabetic eye diseases and other chronic kidney and heart disease and whatnot. We could not be more thrilled that you have gone through that journey and that you have taken those steps. And though we feel your pain, especially those of us on the PWD side of things,
Mhm.
we're so thankful that you're here and that you're able to share this story with us.
Well, I appreciate being on here with you guys, with like-minded people that we're all living with it, figuring it out, navigating our lives. I mean, I think it's amazing for anyone listening out there. I mean, this is where it's at. These are the kind of rooms you should really be in and talk to people, because I would think all of us on this, you could ask us any question about anything and we'd be honest and be able to shed some light on something.
Yeah.
I see Randall's in some sort of an office. So Randall, what is this office you're in?
Actually, it's just a storeroom where I work in a laboratory, and this is where we keep some of the chemicals and stuff. And so it's a
What
quiet
kind of
place
lab?
where
What are you making in this lab, Randall?
I work in
This is
an
a family show, gentlemen.
environmental purification lab. So yeah.
So how good is my bottled water? I should ask you, Randall.
Well,
Which one should I be drinking?
it's good. Without knowing your specific source, I would no, but yeah, it's probably good. I would say, yeah, they have strict standards that they have to pass in order to do it.
Well, that's
Bottle it.
refreshing. We didn't want to.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, this could have really taken a turn for the worse, guys. We were doing
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
Well, I want to show a quick video that we here at the American Diabetes Association, in partnership with our visionary partners, VSP Vision Care and Regeneron, as part of the Focus on Diabetes initiative, have created, just to show a little bit more about the connection between diabetes and eye health and eye care, and really encourage the message about prevention, about getting your annual eye exam, about managing your health, and about how not as bad as it sounds. I think we've agreed on that, but there are ways that we can get ahead of it and that we can thrive in all these things. So Sabrina and Sarah, I think you're going to pull that video up for us. Thank you. Thank you. And if this conversation hasn't inspired you, first of all, what's wrong with you? But two, I hope that video has. We want to thank our participants, Randall and Michael. They're ambassadors for our Focus on Diabetes initiative. We want to give extra special thanks to Randy Jackson today. Randy, we are going to leave it to you to give us some parting words, even if it might be your favorite healthy snack on the road. But is there anything else you'd like to share with us? We so appreciate you. We want to encourage everyone to get their annual dilated eye exam, whether you do or do not have diabetes. There are so many things. They say your eyes are the windows to the soul, but they're also the windows to your body. So get that checked out. By all means, check out eyehealth.diabetes.org, diabetes.org/diabetes/eyehealth. You can find us any number of ways. Randy, we would love for you to carry us out of this one, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys so much. And it's so nice to meet you both, Michael and Randall and Aaron and Sarah. I just want to say that sometimes I was just thinking about this. It feels like the eye health thing with diabetes is the last thing that you think about, but it's one of the most important things because you think about how you're feeling. And I applaud the ADA for this initiative because, you know, you can go to their website and find out all sorts of cool information and things. They've really done a great job and continue to do. But that eye health thing is what you think about last because you're feeling achy, you're feeling painful, you're not feeling well, your blood sugar is bouncing all over the place. But check out that eye health because that's the sneaky one. It can sneak up on you because you need to know where you are. You need to also know your numbers. That A1C is serious. These numbers are really serious because this will help you to protect your eyes, but go in and get that exam. And the dilated, the comprehensive is the only way to really check for diseases. Please do yourself a favor. I know you want to see.
That's right. Well, if I may, you heard it here first, dog. And
Look at that, look at that, look at that.
I couldn't let it go.
Aaron's in the house, y'all. Aaron's in the house. Go,
I couldn't let
Aaron,
it go.
go, Aaron. Randall, you're free to use dog in the lab when you're doing stuff.
I will. I'll use it today.
No for me, dog. The solution's not strong enough.
I will do that today.
That's right. Thank you so much to all of you gentlemen. Just a reminder, it is Men's Health Month. Take control, be your best advocate, schedule your annual dilated eye exam, encourage the people that you know and that you love to do the same, bring them into your support network, talk to your doctors, eat your vegetables. If that wasn't enough, call your mom. I think we've got a lot of words of wisdom.
Call Michael, get Michael's phone number and call him.
That's right. That's right. There are a lot of key takeaways here, but I think the most important one is to manage your health as best you can. And one great way to do that is by getting your annual dilated eye exam. So if there's one message you take away from us, I hope that's it. And we've got more to come from the Focus on Diabetes initiative right here on all the American Diabetes Association and Focus on Diabetes channels. You can check us out at diabetes.org/eyehealth. Once again, I'm Erin. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you so much for sharing this day with us.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone out there. Great eye health.
Thank you.